Having had the time to truly process what this year was, I think 2025 is going to go down as one of the worst years for popular music, the music industry, sales, songs in general. New music has never had less demand, mostly thanks to streaming. AGI has flooded the scene with artificial and fake sounding music, shitty art, and even full holograms. Though the backlash is starting to set in, major artists are drifting towards acting. Corporations are bowing down to the government as they literally destroy the world and enact militaristic tyranny so they can theoretically catch somebody. These violent, deranged criminals they keep making up in their head while they tear gas fucking infants. I started writing the worst list in November to make it easier, and I sat on my ass over the course of a month due to how samey it all was, as well as a lot of personal shit that was bringing me down. I think this year was doomed to be disappointing with how great 2024 was. Everything had a high point that year, musically speaking. 2025 was my favorite year for music. I started drafting my best list in February. That's not a high bar to clear, but people forget that 2024 was flawed. It was rough, only the biggest artists thrived, and the bad music was atrocious too. I just ignored the worst stuff because it was all bait. 2024 felt like a great year, but due to my own circumstances, I had really no connection to it. I felt like my best list was the same as everyone else, and honestly a few lists just picked out the same 7 or so albums anyway. 2025 was great for a lot of music in my opinion, even at its shittiest, but especially for experimental music. I thrived this year. I made so many videos I'm proud of. It's my favorite quality-wise for album listening, but I still had a rough year. I spent most of the year not listening to any music at all. On top of that, everything felt so complicated. Perverts was where I first noticed that, and it only got worse as the year went on. Every major album that came out had so much discussion and weight on it. The tone within the songwriting was constantly vindictive, dark, seething, destitute, and miserable. The amount of darker and more challenging music was shocking. The writing was complex, filled with growing pains. Nothing went how I expected, and I felt pretty dumbfounded from start to end. Maybe it was just the sheer difficulty that led my brain to light up whenever I found anything great. My best list last year had like 60 entries, including honorable mentions. This year is close to 100. I could have made a top 200 list. I'm not sure how this list will fail. All these spots are very fluid, and I still have a couple albums I might listen to while making this list and slip on in later takes. And also, it might just not come out at all. What I did love about 2025 was that this felt like, a year kind of curated for me. I started tracking albums in 2021, and this was the first year since then where I actually felt like I knew where I stood. I was super behind for the entire year. As I'm writing this intro, I still am, but I genuinely feel stronger about my music taste this year than in any other year. This was a fantastic year for outsider, experimental, and heavy music, especially for drone, no-wave, extreme metal, and avant-garde. Though not popular, pop had a lot of highlights. I enjoyed the random picks more than the stuff people hyped up. The songwriting really matched the sheer dread and misery that was the difficulty in transitioning from a we're gonna be fine year like 2024 and a oh no we're so fucked year like this. 2025 was complicated, and the music reflects that. I think right now is the most accessible this field will ever be, and so far everyone's best lists are different, which instills more confidence in me than in 2024. Oh god. I mean, this list is huge. Like, I had so much stuff to pick from. This list is pretty varied. You'll see as we go. Every year is kind of like a new cave, if that makes sense. The good years have all the great stuff at the front, maybe some trash, and then some obscure stuff if you go deeper. Bad years, you have to splunk pretty deep for some gems. Maybe even submerge if you're really insane. 2025 is pretty good. Some stuff at the front, especially towards the end. But I took a detour early on in some weird hole and I found some fucking gems. It's like I entered a chamber and came out with eldritch wonders beyond my comprehension. It's like I took a dive. I based my lists on the ZP Totally Ramblomatic year ends, but my best lists I also base off of Pico's Hank's Tornadoes year ends. And I struggled to make cuts this year. I didn't intend this list to be so long, but this was such a good year. Everyone acts like it was all bad and there's too much music and the world is ending, and yeah, all that is true. This year degraded me like I'm a stripper. However, I kept wanting to make cuts, but I have this thought of what if I never get the chance. I felt that last year. I arguably had more free time this year, and most of my struggles this year were internal. This whole video will be a bit of a roller coaster. None of this is definitive. I'd say all of this kind of bleeds into each other because I struggled to figure out where anything went. Didn't help that I kept having more and more fun as I wrote it out. I just wanted to listen to all the good music I had instead of write about it. This best list was a blast to write. Obviously, I have my biases and blind spots. I missed a lot. You can see that list scroll up after the albums I got to past, and I'm not you. If you don't like it, why? This is going to be another multi-hour marathon, so buckle up and crash right into an elementary school. Punch a Nazi. Let's get this over with. First, some songs I enjoyed this year. Randomly, this quaint single from Pure Heroine blew up this year. While a cool track from this era, I would say Ribs is great not because of nostalgia, but more because of what it explores. This is a song about getting older, being close to someone, knowing that moment will soon be lost.
The drink you spill all over me, lovers spit left on repeat. Mom and dad let me stay home, it drives you crazy getting old.
I said it was about hauntology, and it feels like that perfect life you can't live because of how much you get pushed away. Mainly, it's the filler of the modern day, but this feels like a song about wanting more out of life, with the people you love, wanting to love the person you're with, but you know that it won't last, and they'll be gone one day. You laugh so hard with them, it hurts your ribs. They still hurt, but they aren't there anymore. This was one of my first discoveries for the year. For how much great dance music released, I'm shocked Mystery Skulls didn't put this on an album. This song's amazing. You feel like a failure and you want to move away from the people you don't connect with to prove them wrong, like you're in a movie.
I wanna run away, fix my shit, and when I will be, get my revenge, and when it's over, baby, you'll never see me again.
Most of the hard work is in the drop, though.
See me again.
This was probably one of my favorites for half the year. 2025 was long, man. This album I missed in 2023, but the one song that stuck with me from my listen was the opener, a song about being led astray, trusting in someone's judgment, and ultimately being failed by them. The song is powerful and harsh. I love the Coheed and Cambria singing in it. And the energy in that chorus is magnificent. Of the album, for how solid I was, Test Fight was the only song I have strong opinions on, because it's about feeling so out of place and unsure what the world is, what it means for you, and how you fit in. I will do a full video on it one of these days. This was a really supporting song for the first month of the year.
I'm on your TV in real life.
Danny Brown turned in his coupons, including this track. They didn't release an album this year, but I think this song's about catfishing. It's extremely catchy.
Can't believe it's not real life. You wish you knew me in real life.
And of course, the Danny Brown feature.
Life's like a movie, don't know how it ends. Is this real life? Are you playing pretend? 'Cause you don't know me and I don't know you.
This is 100% about catfishing. No reason, I just love this song.
Enchanté, 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 enchanté. Every myth to crack its lips has nothing more to say.
They didn't release an album this year. Next. This came out in 2024, and even then, Vain Lily does not have a full album to put on this list, which is a shame because paired with some of my preferred pop songs from this year, Collared kept me sane. I'm so deep in the closet I might as well live there, but Collared was a great song about kinky sex that reminded me that this shit is supposed to be fun.
If the scripture says it's in, then let's begin a dying wish.
I love the use of the Vocaloid software, I love the writing, and honestly, I like the dubstep and dance elements. My only complaint is the post-chorus.
It's got me cold.
That's not great. I had to listen to a lot of furry music for my video too. Not all of it was great, but I absolutely love this song. It's a catchy song about feeling tired all the time and just wanting to be gone. Sadly, this person didn't release an album this year. I suspect if they did, it'd be on the list. I played through Deltarune with my nephew. Out of all the songs in it, including from the catchy beats in Chapter 2, this was easily the most catchy and amazing song I've ever heard. It got stuck in my head for like a month. Something about it conveys such vital energy to save the world. The symphonic inspiration, I had to put it somewhere. Speaking of Delta Poo, Joel did this cover of the song in Chapter 3. Honestly, hearing the version in game, I think this is my preferred version.
Sushi on the drums, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my god. The worst solo I've heard.
Be nice, she's trying. He also did a cover of the Roaring Night theme. I didn't hear it, we didn't get to that boss. On the topic of video games, this game came out in 2023, I'm pretty sure, and I do intend to do a video on the soundtrack, but I didn't think a game soundtrack has blown my mind like this one. The mixture of psychedelic, electronic, retro chiptune, and the ambience is fantastic. And also, I haven't played it yet because I'm terrible at RPGs, but I'm excited. I go back and forth on Isbroki, and I will keep checking out Fentanyl for being so unique. I have not listened to their newest album this year. I'm gonna get to it in a bit. But put these two together forever. This song is fucking awesome. Somehow the combination between the breakcore noise and the rapping just produced one of the best fucking anthems ever. This is a power anthem in every single possible way, especially the bridge. I love the writing of this song too. Speaking of, this came out in 2025 in the run-up to 2026's album. I'm super excited for it. And this song is amazing. Here's my favorite moment of music in 2025. Let me take it from here. Best verse of the fucking year. Let's go. Final recommendation. Bear in mind, this one is extremely biased for me. I did a little video on it because complicated reasons. For years, my brother has been pickaxing at his own projects and it finally released. I'll be upfront and say that grunge isn't my thing, though I've softened to it thanks to him blaring every single song he knows across the apartment. This is a pretty interesting post-grunge album. I like it quite a lot. My highlights are Promised and House of Despair. Especially that closer, which sounds like the kind of drone I usually listen to in my spare time from like advanced art. I don't like to do promotions and all, and I get people are very weird of YouTubers selling them shit. Honestly, do this for him. My brother worked his ass off this year doing 12-hour shifts and dealing with his family falling apart. I don't even think he's doing this for the money, just because he enjoys music. I've been watching him hack at this day and night until recently, practicing guitar day in and out. He's extremely talented. If I can try and do one nice thing for him before I die, it's to get this album out. It's really good. Some creators for the year that I enjoyed. A video for Sample Size, Colder for metal music. He's got some reviews I like. Lonnie's Lens, I like their videos on the modern alternative pop scene. I don't agree with everything they claim, but we're humans, not crabs. Spectrum Pulse became a comfort creator with their year ends, along with some solid editorials this year. Billboard Breakdown for Research, Crustbag's video on extreme culture in the 2000s, Wonky Angle's review I really like, but I just ran out of time. I'll get to whatever I can before February. I like Negative Theory's video on AI merchandise and that problem growing, helpful. Mike the Snare's various journalism reporting, Alexander Avila's Brat video, Cactus Malpractice, Brutus Bathory's video on the history of black metal, though recently they radicalized, oops. Andrew Lee also has a video on white supremacy in metal. Yeah, I know people hate talking about it. Wah, stop going on fucking Timcast. Wyatt XM's videos on the history of black metal and death metal and very obscure acts. Nate Islame's video on bands he likes. Pat Finnerty's video on Low Cash is hilarious. Tensai Productions' video on twerking and pop culture politics. I'd recommend the uncensored version, but you'd have to pay for it. Also, his Charlie Brown video is beautiful. Agusada's video on Look Outside, Deja Sade's video on Eminem and counterculture and how music history led to where we are now, a bucket of Jake's video on album openers. Glumburger has gotten onto my radar. They make obscure music videos. They've started to get traction. There's been a variety of Billboard critics I've ran across. I'll put them up. Some of them sound like Spectrum Pulse ripoffs, but I enjoyed watching them, especially Lizette G and Cacophony, especially that second one. I love me a catty bitch. Violet Pony's shitposts. I got my furry albums partially from Shufflewolf, but I don't like their Bonzi Buddy voice. Still, I mention my sources even if they're this. Dr. G's series of albums from across the world. I will check out more of your stuff eventually. Check it out. It's really great. And add this to the creator pile. Antiguino. He has a couple decent videos, I guess. Overly Sarcastic Productions on their podcast Detailed Diatribe did a whole piece on Gotye's second album, Making Mirrors, and it's so good, guys. I love that video so much. And it's mostly Blue, who is superior to Red, but I hate history. Swole Entertainment has spoken about music venues here and there, but I like their K-pop Demon Hunters video. I'm a simple man. I see passion. I watch. usually with a burrito. Shout out to burritos. I'm sure there's more, but I just need to finish this fucking video before I write out another novel. Yeah, mind the noise in the background. They're just always doing construction around here. We're going to start off with a project I wouldn't call music, but is relevant to this year. I know we're all sick of talking about this, but I think its message is important. Is This What We Want is a silent protest album about AGI. I was brought it by Colder, I did a video on it, and no one else talked about it. To be fair, it is worthless, especially with how much this technology has penetrated music streaming right now. This released around March, and it has stuck around my head for a while. It's a near silent album minus some field recordings of people going about their day, doing boring things, zippers, lip smacking. And at the time, my interpretation was AGI can't produce real-time events, and, well, I mean, that's true to an extent. I think now it's more AGI that produces field recordings is a useless selling point. I think what the album didn't predict was that AGI isn't designed to produce new things, it's designed to replace them. I'm still not sure how hard I'm ready to bash the technology, even in spite of how pointless it is. The responses are as polarizing from full lifetime memberships to complete disdain. But there's still a middle ground of people who see it as ultimately harmless or even important. AI as a technology can be amazing, but this album reminds us, what do we want out of it? The answer is that we don't want this. Many of us, you maybe, don't want this kind of technology shoved in our faces. Give us the option, but by spilling it out into the water supply, we're potentially ruining a good thing. My original video will stay the only one. I'm done talking about this technology in the long term. It's gotten old. I'm tired of the "they want you dead" videos. I'll die when and where I want to. Don't tell me what to do. I will say that my case of helping people with disability was proven dead wrong. No disabled person wants this, and they've made it very clear. Oops. Past that, my video is perfect and I've never been wrong or contrived about anything ever. From Sora to Midjourney to GPT, there's just nothing useful besides a temporary crutch. And to be fair, I watch people respond to the ChatGPT therapy controversy, specifically young men, with dismissal, because it's not like there's a better alternative with how much society tells us we suck. And AI does provide something, even if it is toxic, on top of how much it gets abused to skirt around laws. That's the depressing reality of how bleak this technology is, especially with how many suicides are linked to it. It's for people who think finding loopholes is a talent and not a skill. Okay, since this list is going to get heavy, why don't we start with a few easy entries.
They told me, they said, be careful where you hide your gold.
And when the news goes south, there's panic in the sound, and they're coming out for my soul, they call it. 2024, I cement myself as the only modern Alibi fan, as their debut EP was one of the best groove rock albums of that year.
Like the stormy weather, lighting up the starry night, cursing all the people as it dances in the sky.
To combine the suave lyrics of addiction and love, it wasn't that unique, but I really loved it.
Style, flavor, manic behavior, watching the eyes on all the spectators.
American Radio is great. I would say this album probably didn't deserve to be on the list, though it gave me a good benchmark for what would get on depending on what I liked more than it. I also don't like the name despite that album cover being amazing. Any album, movie, or show that's just American and a noun is a lame name. American Tofu, American Spider, American Jesus, American Cheez-Its. American Radio is a solid pop rock album. It introduces the band's best songs, Everybody In. Best pre-chorus, best chorus. Love that. My one complaint is that Arbitrage isn't on it, despite that song being excellent, but that's neither here nor there. 3 of the EP songs, including Silver Spoon, are on it. I still like Taste It and Out of You. And the new songs are really good. Reservation. Scarlet. And Boy You Better are all great songs. I'd say there are weak cuts like the title track. Freaking Me Out. Most of you are probably not impressed, and to you I'll say, Look, the highlights are mainly in the consistency. I've said this before, but some bands are just really good at what they do. They don't write the best songs or make the coolest riffs, they do one small thing and hone it down. Modern Alibi makes really good music that compares love and romance to drugs. That's all they need to do. And when they lean into power pop, they're unstoppable. I love Scarlet and Out of Use Toxic Love. I love the writing in Silver Spoon and Is Everybody In. I love lyrics that don't even rhyme. Normally this subgenre of groove rock has better results, but I got a much better album down the road. I hate this album. I truly hate how hard I was for this album and how little I have to show for it. Both because of Fickle Drama, the shit of year, and just in general, I'm annoyed. In the time it took me to write this, boy do I feel gross promoting this. I'm a music guy first, but don't expect me to run for this guy in the future. With his corporately empty name, hyper promotion on TikTok, just the general seedy nature of it all. I put this album here before I learned of that, but rest assured, fuck off with this. Okay, this is a great album. It's really, really good. Most of the best stuff is the production, yes, and some really catchy songs, but I have some additional thoughts on the lyrical matter. I will eventually do a full video on Sombr and why people, particularly young girls, tend to like bad men, and why we as a society are expected to care. I won't go over that here because, quite frankly, I'm good. This album cover is awful. Fuck, this year it's so many bad album covers. Paired with the stupid name, you will be surprised to learn this is a fascinating album. I listened to Marvin Gaye's Hear My Dear in preparation for my coverage of Sombr. The issue with looking too deep into a person's worst habits is sometimes instead of a mirror, you see a grave. That album is bitter, revealing, and also way too fucking long. The worst version of this is a Her Loss or Paula. Thankfully, I barely know her. Though it comes through in tracks like Undressed, there's pause to the low points. Back to Friends is whiny and pathetic because the narrator can't move on. Undressed is creepy. Both of these tracks tap into someone who was a part of a relationship that sucked, but they didn't want it to. They wanted something more. 12 to 12 is proof of that. They met one time, it took off, it failed. When you're thinking of someone who couldn't give a shit about you, you hope to run into them so things will magically turn out, and you won't, and it never does. I don't love songs about imagining patching up a dead relationship, but this album works because he doesn't, and it's better that way. The best post-disco pop song I heard this year. It sounds so great. And you get that in songs like We Never Dated and I Wish I Knew How to Quit You. There's a real intensity in the desperation and patheticness of the narrator. I don't doubt there's a creepy undertone in the songs, but through it you really see a revealing underbelly of something weak. Under the Mat, the closer really ties into that. Because while the narrator is howling over his loss, they still can't seem to move on and look for every possible clue, including the possibility that this other person is also latched to this deadbeat relationship. The awkwardness of the aftermath, that there's an open door but there really shouldn't be. It reminded me of the melodrama in Don't by Ed Sheeran, where you get images of a stupid relationship that wasn't that important, but the pettiness just foams. I Don't Know What You Wanted is so funny. Babe, don't I told her she knows. The album is flawed, but I love the mixture of new wave and pop. It's a shame that Bad Habit killed itself after its meteoric rise because I would have loved to see more of this. David Kushner started with trash and moved to folk, and that's where the list ends. For what it's worth, I'm so frustrated with how this album was kind of dismissed besides 12 to 12, especially with how fucking dumb the drama behind the scenes was, at least early on. This album is one of those rare cases in the 2020s where I actually felt like I was listening to something new. I hate how hard I vouched for this goddamn album, and I felt like an idiot through it. I hate the stupid humor, the stupid cover, the irony poisoning, the amount of times the line is clearly being pushed, the corporation behind it. I hate how hard it is to like music like this without people side-eyeing you, as if they don't listen to their own fucking garbage. I'm sticking up for this album, but if this bitch gets in trouble, I won't be surprised, just pissed. This is kind of an offbeat entry. Every year has its own microtrend in the underground. 2025 had a few of these, from rage music, dubstep metal, to my personal favorite, lo-fi folk. I wouldn't say all of it was good, but it irritated me the least. Usually composed of simple, catchy acoustic songs. One of these songs I encountered was from an act called Sincerely Yours, a split with them and Ash Bricky from their song Another Day.
Another day, I get up, check my phone, and I wait. Another day.
They didn't have a major release this year, or at least I don't think they did, but did have an unplugged style album. I just wish it didn't have such an atrocious album cover. Get it? Stripped down. Yuck. If you didn't put those words there, I wouldn't have fucking said anything. Despite that, this album is really well written. For such a raw guitar album, I was surprised how good the songwriting was, along with how earnest the songs were, how great the performances were. The main issue with this subgenre is that the vocals and songwriting are the primary measurement of quality. This is a very raw album. Each song has its own interlude before it. I Want to Be Small is about wanting to be unseen, to slip away from the people who you're connected to in the hopes of finding something new.
Keeping things going just right, so you stop worrying if I'm sane. Bouncing my heart on all my words.
There's the soft lullaby to follow next, about the comfort of certainty.
From the world, there's no noise. There's no thoughts to suffocate you.
I really like the performance in Substrate Angel and the cover of Warmness on the Soul. The former being about having to lean on someone in rough times, when your emotions boil over and you have someone to comfort you.
On the days that I'm not myself, you're there to be me for me.
And it ends off on a cover dedicated to his father.
It's not gonna be great, but I really wanted to play it for my dad. Taking that feeling of doubt, it's erased.
I think what stuck this on the list, if at all, is that I liked how honest and emotional it was.
Okay, this was the first song that I'd ever properly written all the way through.
I think the whole album feels heartfelt. I think the writing is really strong, and I like the performance of it. Even the cover at the end. Sometimes the best albums are just ones that do one thing really well. Gothic and or dark rock album, Glutton for Punishment. Most of this album's strength are in its instrumentals. Glutton for Punishment is dripping with atmosphere from the dreary and dark soundscapes, the electronic drums, and even in the singing. Just to Ask to Dance is a strange writing of the rituals and love, with a catchy chorus before verses of waiting for someone to ask you out. The song is very melodramatic, and I love the way it writes this out. There's the dreary, extraordinary wings, which I like for the drum machine in it. The one weakness of this album is that it's mostly about heartbreak and sapphic poetry. It's not bad at all. In fact, if you like this writing style, you will probably fall over this album. It's a very well-paced and constructed project, even in spite of the shortcomings. There's still one song I want to show you. Though on the longer side, Smuggler's Adventure sounds great with its strings, vocal work, and harmonies. The writing is... well, the writing is. For how much I love this album, the writing really isn't its strongest suit. It's just got some beautiful soundscapes and vocal work. Okay, hear me out. Seraph metal. This is a deafened power metal album. It's funny because if you hadn't told me that, I wouldn't have been able to tell you that. I hear more symphonic power metal with the electronics, atonal, heavenly choir, and choruses. It sounds more like Imminence's The Black, if anything, just heavier and thrashier. The mixing and production is massive. Can someone tell me when metal albums went back to sounding fucking amazing? Knocked Loose's last album just had such a deep, bassy mud in it, and here this album sounds genuinely heavenly. If Seraph's made a power metal album, but it's just a quartet Satanist. The writing is, well, at times christenly, it's strangely sinister, especially in the first half. The harmonies from the angels are fiercely and intimidating. The anger and rage in the album targets rage, questions of faith, death itself, and time. The atmosphere is massive. The string work, the organs, the harmonies, they all fit together with these death metal passages. My one gripe is that the first half is probably a lot stronger than the second half, both because it's more death metal, but also the second half, there's a few tears. The harmonies aren't as strong, the closer's kind of bad, though I do like the ticking clock at the end. And that album cover, god damn that album cover, the towering mountain-sized seraph, which is scale accurate.
Son, it's long, it's not a shower, it's a grower.
Is it AI generated? No. You can see the brush marks, the outline around all the figures. That's not something AI does. Also, AI art nowadays looks even blander than it used to. Obviously. Well, I'm just making sure. Fuck off. I feel like I'm obligated to put this here. As if this list isn't long enough. I mean, in many ways, this is probably their most machine-girly album they've made. The usual electronic groove they've used in prior albums, especially the soundtrack album. It's got elements of post-hardcore and metal that reminds me of Uvoid Synthesizer. The weirdness of MG Ultra, even some stuff I recall off their early material, arguably Wolf Girl. This should be their most Machine Girl album up until this point, right? Yeah, it is. I prefer the weirdness of MG Ultra so much more, which isn't to say Psychowarrior isn't weird, it's literally cuts from MG Ultra. It needs a hot lizard. What I do like about Psychowarrior is that it's really fun. I love how often it curdles back into metal and post-hardcore. It reminds me of Uvoid Synthesizer, and whenever the album falls into that, it's great. I was tempted to put this in the cut section, but I don't have any problem with it. It's a blast. Another anecdote about exploring music, but my first experience listening to industrial music used to be way more adrenaline heavy. I used to be so captivated by the sounds Skinny Puppy and Rob Zombie could make, and by the time I got to acts like Daughters and Nurse with Wound, I was just blown away that nowadays I don't even blink. Not that this isn't intense. This is one of the most visceral hip-hop, metal, industrial albums out there. It's relentless in the mixture of post-hardcore and rap. I really like the random groove passage in Upside Down.
Smoke can't even see my eyes, nigga. Can't see my eyes. Can't no life looking like dudes spend a night, nigga. These words is bulletproof. Outside the mama stoop. Jumped out, landed in a zoo.
Just catchy. The drum and bass combination and with hardcore and tapeworm. The no-wave drudge and Immortal, especially with the more gentle performances with Chelsea Wolfe. In the second half, they add some guitar, and it almost sounds like Giles Corey. This album is dense and heavy production. The harsh noise is biting and sharp, especially in the early hip-hop influences in the first few tracks. I love the explosion and LA riots mixed with the echoey vocals, the fast-paced instrumental, and the lyrics about fighting back against state violence. energy does kind of soften towards the end, and even the early material is a bit overwhelming. Past that, fantastic album. Glad I got to this in time. I was surprised I didn't really see this talked about much until really the end of the year. I feel like I need to fill you in on the Big Thief lore if I could. I learned about Big Thief around the same time most people did when Dragon New Warm Heart Mountain I Believe in You came out. I remember that title. I showed up. Not many paid attention to this obscure indie country folk rock band. Their debut albums were fantastic. I love Masterpiece Capacity, and especially the darker tracks like Shoulders. That album in 2022 was the best album of that year. It was this rare example of a great band making the album they wanted to, when they wanted to, how they wanted to. Every song on it was incredible. All was good until the Vampire Empire attacked.
Watching TV tired, bleeding on the bed, and milk is just expired, all the leaves are dead.
And it wasn't very good, which led to their new fan base to go into overdrive because it was bad, which led the band to take a few years off and lose a member, along with 2 members releasing country projects, which I'm not huge on. Obviously not only for that reason, but I doubt it helped. I've softened now, but I don't like it when rock bands shift to country because it's an entirely different sound. It's usually somber and more boring. Double Infinity came out to no fanfare, to little build-up, and to no hype. It basically dropped and that was it, which surprised me because it's probably the only album they could have followed without invoking the mob. Double Infinity is a psychedelic rock album. Yeah, psych rock. It still has the usual elements of Big Thief, but it's cleaner and bolder. Also, this album cover, a lime surrounded by lime rinds. It looks like AGI, but I don't actually think it is. I don't know. Looks like real pieces of lime to me. I hate that this has become a worry. It's so weird describing a Big Thief album this way. I thought they would go full country. I'm honestly glad they didn't. And if I'm going to be honest, not that Adriana Lenker's country debut was bad, but, you know, the Vampire Empire version she did I liked even less than the original. Double Infinity, sound-wise, is really interesting. It's a psychedelic indie rock album. The mixing is a lot more processed than the prior works, the writing is more about the world at large, the spirituality of it all. I'm not that surprised it wasn't taken too softly early on, though nowadays that's every goddamn album. The first 2 tracks are easily the strongest, with their psychedelic instrumentals and simplistic writing. Incomprehensible is a catchy, somber track about moving to a new place and holding on to little bits of what you have.
Highway 17, cotton candy rain, driving with my lover, we missed our plane.
It's got these strings playing in the mix, along with the bar chimes in the background. You have no idea how hard it was to learn the name of this fucking instrument. Words is about being in a relationship with a person. For so long, you run out of words to describe the feeling with them because you're happy with them, but you don't expect to use words that way. The instrumentals are closer to Tusk-era Fleetwood Mac. If you like that sound. I do. Check out this solo. If I can give Double Infinity one thing, it's that it's still a Big Thief record. It still has the emotional, anecdotal writing, taking memories and combining them with soft rock. Oh god. I lost my place. I get so many calls nowadays. I'm so tired of it. Where was I? Taking memories and combining them with soft rock, cold whispery vocals, and surprisingly upbeat drums, the album is closer to Primal Scream than to Big Thief. There's the old-timey nostalgia in Grandma.
Tell me about the lake. It's been strange dancing at the bar.
The title track is pretty typical of what Big Thief stereotypically makes, if you're worried.
Lost or waiting. Troubled mind, let me rest. My life is full
There's a lot of color in the songwriting. The texture is clean compared to the raw folk in their prior material. If anything, Double Infinity's biggest issue is that as an album, it all feels like it's in medias res. I don't think it starts or ends, it just is. It's the least album about drugs I've ever heard. I loved it. This is an indie rock, experimental rock, shoegaze album, one of many genre-fluid indie rock albums that kind of went under the radar, down to the fact I'm not sure how I found it. Surface-wise, the compositions are great. The album goes from indie rock to shoegaze to noise rock back and forth constantly. The whole album transitions from song to song like butter. I love the melody and life signs, and the contrast in the lower shreds. With the softer singing and harmonies, the way the chorus and verse contrast with each other, the psychedelic patter and spaceship before the soft rock engages, before it combines into this sweet candy. It's a Beautiful Place is a stunning set of compositions. Plenty of the album, including the title track, is purely instrumental. The writing touches on themes of exploring the world you live in like exploring a distant planet, about finding beauty in the world and accepting it. The constant swings of the instrumentals, the shifts between genres, and the softer singing ends up with this beautiful orchestra of memories.
Desire and crisis, now a longing for truth. Yeah, the long hard road from here to truth. Shake six.
It's like witnessing an epitaph of the unseen beauties of the world. About finding meaning when you're at your lowest. Do you ever hate that you love an album? In 2022, the band Just Mustard released their Portishead-inspired Heart Under. I hated it. I hated it so much. I thought it was one of the worst noise rock albums, and I'm pretty depressed it's been beaten out like 3 times. And honestly, that didn't have much to do with the band themselves. I just don't like Portishead's very squishy, emotional melodrama that much. Nobody loves me. Shut up. And Just Mustard were all over that. Their melodrama, if anything, got worse after I listened to Dummy. Or Porta Potty, or whatever it's called. Anyway, in October, they finally released a follow-up. I had been stalking this band for them to follow up their trash. I hated their singing, instrumentals, edging melodies, all of it. I was so eager to bash this band to pieces. Why did you do this to me? I'll be blunt. Singing still kind of sucks. Where before the wave singing felt aimless and annoying, here it's just a little too pushed up to the front. I think it should be buried in the mix, but that's my bias. Beck Gibbon was quiet in Porta Potty's presentation. That's why they sounded great. I feel like the belting sounds off here, especially with the darker, wide mixing. On top of the woman singing trying too hard to do these raspy falsettos. Besides all of that, this is here because of the improvement. I cannot believe I actually love this fucking album. I was so diehard to put this on the worst list. Perhaps I was just cheery after knocking Hotline TNT off my worst list when I calmed down from my then angry bender when I heard them. We Were Just There is such a massive album and presentation, these massive waves of ambience, noise rock, and the sheer devastation in the overall tone. This album sounds like how it feels to be drenched in grief. The noise is huge, the power of the instrumentals knocks you back like a bomb. It is a powerful, fantastic album. And I hate that about it. God damn it. This album came out in 2024, but the deluxe edition came out in 2025, and I really want to talk about it, so we're going to cheat a bit here. Don't worry, I'm doing this thrice. Ooh. Soft Play are a punk band who randomly popped up in 2023 with Everything and Nothing. Despite that dud of a start, their breakup album was so good. The opener is this strange joke song about the narrator being all things. I wasn't really into it when I heard it the first time until... Yeah! Excuse me, I'm about to throw up. It's followed by Punk's Dead, another joke song, pissing at their fans who got mad when they changed their name. It's the best song on the album, and I love that melody, and I love its confrontation of the punk is dead and we killed it bullshit. Because, like, punk was never alive. It was fake from the start. All music is fake. What was their old name anyway? Really? I thought it'd be something cool like Chainsaw Madness or something. Is it weird I'm starting to side with the people who said you went woke? There's Bin Juice Disaster, which is a verse-wise, a good song about the narrator bolstering their boring life, and in the chorus, raging over not dealing with the trash. Oh, it's so funny. After having some bin juice poured on my arm, this song became my next favorite. I had this exact same experience and I was just as mad. Also, I love the harmonies. Act Violently is a great rage song, especially with that acoustic slashing. And you got The Mushroom and the Swan, which is just this shit fit over someone you hate and being an obnoxious asshole in response. It's a strange song. This album is fantastic. It's about punk, being a dick, and just blowing up. And what's funny is that I did know about it and heard the reviews. So why didn't I get to it? Remember what I said about Everything and Nothing? Thing is, that song is terrible. This sounds like something out of the Brack Show. The title track is pretty good, hence why I never checked it out because I thought this band wasn't my thing. What's even funnier is that this deluxe edition's entire added songs also suck.
Stop what you're doing and listen to me. No, stop talking and listen.
None of them are good. I wanted to put this on the list, so be glad that the good songs are genuinely that good. The first 10 songs of this album are nearly perfect, and it just falls apart at the end. We'll see what they do next. So, how do I talk about this? I'll be honest, this is partially on the list because my metalhead friend loves this band so much. I think if I squint hard enough, I could even see it go higher. This album is brutal, which I think is the subgenre of Death They Swim in. The vocals are absolutely wretched, especially towards the end, when they almost become blackened. It's like they're choking. The symphonics are tinged and depressing. The drumming is fierce, and at times feels like it could set off a seismograph across the country. The entire atmosphere is dark and brooding. I told you this was a dark year. The writing is depressing and soaked in despair too. Really, I was convinced to do this mostly because he fucking loves this band, and I think that passion and warmth rubbed off on me. When I first listened to Flesh Coffin, it was so intense I had to take breaths between because I was a little baby. It was dense, and besides Lamb of God, I had not heard anything that heavy at the time. And then over the years, somehow that sense of suffocation just never went away, even as I got used to this symphonic, brutal sound. This album is like a large storm cloud looming over you. I actually did really enjoy it, hence why it's this high. I feel like I should just play a song and then move to the next segment. Indie country is such a small niche in music. You'd think having one of the biggest mainstream genres would help it out, but until it dives into other genres, acts like Snail, Look Mexico, and Lola go unnoticed in the mainstream. If you're confused what's the difference, indie country is just country outside of the Nashville umbrella, which is where most country labels hold office. Despite country music being prominent literally everywhere else, I watched a local bluegrass crew perform at a coffee house. Nashville's older reputation has allowed larger artists to proudly spew out garbage while genuine art goes almost unnoticed outside of a handful of critics. Being that I mostly cover obscure weirder music, I don't really have the taste for obscure country. However, especially with the video I wanted to do, I started to get into it. For the most part, this was the only project I actually wanted to share. With how much country music leans on the same over-polished sheen rock and metal do, I think this album being as raw, cold, and emotionless it is helps it immensely. And look at this album cover. I'm such a sucker for pencil sketch album covers that don't suck. Raw, sharp sketches. The Black Dog and the Wandering Boy is just sad.
Just a simple song of freedom.
It's hard to describe it. It's one of the most straightforward albums I've ever heard. Let me do my little grocery list myself. Loretto I interpreted to be about the cycle of drugs and the allure of addiction not only in rural communities neglected by their states, but also in the old communities left scarred by death and isolation.
Drove to Laredo, I had the big eyes in my head. They were looking for a small, dark something.
I interpreted the title track to either be about getting used to the underbelly of being on the outside. The narrator sees this vision of a young wandering boy and a black dog.
But they don't. Hey, somebody lied to me.
Who they know isn't right to see but get used to. Their parents just let them carry on, frustrated with their kid. Maybe I'm overinterpreting, but I read this to be about schizophrenia.
Another one's on and another one rides the bus. Jamming out that old Weird Al song and they ain't got time for us.
It reminds me of Cody off Pressure Machine, where a person on the fringes struggles to fit in, to be normal, and ends up alone and isolated, trapped in their own mind, slowly turning into their worst. And away from that more morbid definition, this could be the memories of being the innocent, lost child, unloved with a small animal and never able to get out of that peace. Or grieve the animal you lost, as your parents treat you as nothing more than a burden to carry. There's also a lot of anger in the album. The closer is about people who get propagandized and romanticized by our culture. Mothers, soldiers, Christians, being set as the pedestals of society.
Telling strangers who were sleeping how they hated going home. Just a simple song of freedom.
Being left behind as empty mouthpieces for a system that does not care about them. I actually thought I'd miss this album this year. I'm missing out on a lot of albums I wanted to listen to. There was so much to get through, but I had to. This album's too important. It's fantastic. In 2023, I learned of an Indian folk nu metal band called Bloodywood. It was a really great and fun album about what most nu metal protest albums are about. This year, Bloodywood followed that album with an equally great album. My only complaint is that the vocal mixing is just way too clean. Compared to the megaphone that was the original, New Delhi sounds like a microphone. But also, this album got absolutely wiped by the competition. This was way higher. Earlier than this year was much lamer. Dadak is about turning pain to power, fighting back when hurt, and making a comeback.
Sing like a
Probably. I also really like how the tracks switch between English and Hindi all the time. The title track is about bringing New Delhi to the world stage. In fact, the whole album is far more about national pride for New Delhi than the first album. I loved way more tracks here than Rock Shock, but that might be more because the surprise is less than the second time. This album is trying way harder, it's got way more hooks, arguably more Hindi instruments. It should be legions above the first album, but what a year to follow up an already amazing album. New Delhi is an album about taking power back. As a country, India has a lot of things going on, and a lot of that is bled into my own country, so I think our cultures can... Oh god, the next album. Maybe take some ideas from each other, fighting back the Nazis. Oh god. It's hard to talk about this here without addressing the hell of it. I'll give you a time code to skip it. You might be sick of hearing about it too, but I need to get this off my chest. When this year started going downhill on my end, as in when the US government began cutting all social funds so they could fund the wallets of billionaires and AGI, as well as their entire new private army force that is like the Nazis but more annoying. I did a video on Dictator, which also in proxy became a video about the election. Just like the weird lump on my knee, I don't like that video, but I'm stuck with it. I think my analysis was spot on, specifically about surviving fascism. That video lingered in the back of my head. I definitely regret some of the bitterness in it. Look, it's hard to ignore that prior to this, everything had been rough, and it's hard not to see the vote as people just being done with their government. Rip it apart and start over. At least that's how I view it now. All the other shit from the military roleplay, concentration camps, and that's what they are, secret Nazi police, and the fucking meme wars, and podcast celebrity bullshit. The wars. It's pathetic. But that's what you voted for. They were not shy about what they wanted to do. Yes, populism is more about getting votes instead of delivering promises. It's more about making a show. They didn't lie to you about what they wanted to do. I'm sure Harris would have sucked as a candidate. America has two corporate parties, but one's a shitty party and the other is a fascist party. The one that stands for anything won, and it's pathetic to watch the opposition roll in their own pity. Yes, the immigration camps were started by Obama, and the military police too, technically Bush, which just means the next administration will just do the same thing they did the first time, not learn anything, just keep pushing. We're approaching a kid starver administration over here. The future is bright. What has truly scared me, along with most Americans, was the violence. I'm kidding. What scared me were the people pretending America was a uniquely violent country, especially after... I'm sorry for bringing this up, I'm sick of it too. The Charlie Kirk assassination. Wow. Yeah. I did mention Kirk as one of the provocateurs in my video. Yeah, he was one of the names. He was one of a dozen identical figures who all said the same talking points for shock. I don't care when he was shocked because I remember when Trump was. It only benefited him, and when he died, it was mortifying because it martyrized him. Until it didn't. Because our culture doesn't take anything seriously.
Counting or not counting gang violence? Great!
I got scared because I did speak positively of a song called Kill Fascists, and honestly, I don't know how I feel about this whole thing. And seeing his wife profit off his death and get together with the worst fucking vice principal in the world, I'm mad on his behalf and I didn't even like him. I'm not here to preach to you. I'm a music guy and I'm very stupid. America has been a violent nation since Columbine, since the Oklahoma bombing, since Wakefield. I get why people like Jordan Shanks, who was the target of an assassination attempt himself that probably fucking scarred him, was mad at the people mocking Kirk because in his mind they were the same. The notion that Australia, a country filled with gang violence, is uniquely peaceful is just funny to me. All countries, failed or successful, are violent. We've been a violent species since we learned to kill. What scares me about it is how numb we all are to it. I watch ICE soldiers literally gas up neighborhoods, and it's been so long I don't even care. They're planning to invade Canada and Greenland, I just don't care. Will they do it, will they not? I don't know. That's how it's all been since we started. I was 10 when Sandy Hook happened. I just saw a bunch of toys being piled up against a memorial. And I could not believe that kind of thing would just happen. I couldn't believe that so many young kids could just be killed. I still can't believe our culture was more interested in the weapons than the people involved who got fucking harassed by grifters for years and had to sue Alex Jones into oblivion, and he's still fucking influential because this country sucks. Addicted to the Violence hit hard. This wasn't close to one of the better albums of the year. It just hit the right tone and got stronger as the year went on. It was what I expected. The title track about the worry and succumbing to the violent nature of the world.
All the damaged people marching to oblivion.
Yeah, I felt that. Being so used to what it is and what it feels like, the absence feels somehow worse. So you subject yourself to hell because it's all you know. Killing Spree was my favorite because it's about the kids.
Something is coming around, can't you see? It's got me going out of my mind.
It's the same song, basically.
Controlling me. Society. The kids are on a killing spree.
There's the brutal Satan Hussein about the boogeymen used by military regimes to justify invasion and atrocity, always using some violent leader to force the public to accept whatever theft they're doing. They're currently doing it to Maduro, who's not a popular leader, but the US doesn't give a shit about that. They want their fucking oil. It's always oil. Why do they want to invade Canada? Oil. Greenland? Oil. Saudi Arabia? Probably oil, but I think Saudi Arabia is giving us oil, so they're good. It's always oil. When will we run out of ancient algae juice? While not nearly as great as Dictator, I did still love it. And if I can say one nice thing about this album, besides the fact that I find it cool Darren can still sing, it's that I like the implementation of Armenian folk instrumentals. It's a lot closer to a Visa album, and I think it gives the album a good flavor. I would argue Addicted to the Violence is more worldwide when facing a failed state. However, I loved it because it met the moment. Somewhat related, the two singles, Fucking and Shotgun. I like the cover, which shows a swastika covered by art. Anyway, Shotgun is an amazing song. One of my personal favorites from last year. Alright, let's take a palate cleanser. SEXTILE are a no-wave and house act who I learned from their album 3 and their single Ripped. I thought the lyrics were about playing loud annoying music to piss off fascists, but it's actually just trashing shit. Anyway, 3 is great, and it's mostly about the thing I thought Ripped was about, because it's telling you not to waste your life dancing away when the fascists are destroying the world. Which is ironic because Yes Please is about partying when the world is being destroyed by the war's people. It's a fucking rave. And it's also filled with songs like Penny Rose.
Penny Rose, yeah. Went to school, sauce of all the rules, yeah.
Which, and forgive me for this comparison, sounds like a Radiohead song. I'm sorry, it sounds like Poke Pole.
Cold eyes, smile on her face, and Asian Gucci boys and crank in the basement.
It sounds exactly like it. It has the same industrial key jingling. And then there's Push-Ups, which is a training montage.
1,000 push-ups. 100, 200, 1,000 push-ups.
I like that it reminds me of that one terrible writing advice video.
100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run every single day.
Which is a reference to something, I'm sure. Yes Please is a great album about club going, doing drugs, having sex, and being happy. I also thought the duo Gaff and Gurf had some transition shit because the woman has more vocal snaps here and she rules. I should point out when I was 5 that when I watched the video for Give Me Everything, and I thought that Pitbull with sunglasses was separate from Pitbull without sunglasses. I don't have that much to say. It's a great album. It's about being an outsider and learning to embrace it through drugs and partying. Taking back your agency and having a blast. The end of the world. Last year, and later this year, I kept hearing this one song on the radio.
Don't let this be our final song.
At a coffee bar I can't afford anymore. It was from a familiar name, Ma. You might know them from their biggest hit, Lean On. I was surprised they didn't really cross over again, but they never left my mind. I wouldn't call them my favorite artist, but I really enjoyed their new album this year. This barely landed on this list because I didn't really revisit this album as much as I should have. In hindsight, it makes sense because this album is twisted.
And I wanna stay home, I'm too frustrated. So I'll be the one all in dark, spinning at 1 a.m. sharp.
If you ignore the lyrics, this album sounds like Look Outside. I think what puts Ma above some of the other artists in the alt-pop scene is her voice. Despite the higher pitch, her voice is very smooth and the singing is really good, which makes it funnier that these are songs about spite. Who Said is a breakup song that's essentially...
Who said that? Who said I was gonna love you? Till the end of time, till the end of time. Boy, who said you're the only one? Who said that?
There's Knife, which is a sad party song that uses the knife as motif, as in, my heart is a knife.
With the knife in my heart, I'm a dance all night. With the knife in my heart.
It's got this undertow of being unlovable, feeling defeated by losing relationships so much that your love becomes more of a weapon on top of the club jam that it is. The beats on this thing are dark and gothic. You got these dark beats with Muzz belting melodic voice, even if some of the ad-libs and the na-na-nas aren't very good. Honestly, it's one of those it just does what it does really well type of albums. I like this kind of alt-pop because of its style of writing and the theme of being unloved and alone and partying to shed that insecurity off. Is really well done. There's this dark undertone of sinisterness through it. One of the best songs is Lose Yourself. It's got an 80s new wave beat about processing death and the people you lose. It's got the best chorus and... Oh, I heard this on the radio too, cool. I have a rule, unwritten, that if I listen to a genre I'm not super into but really like the album, then it's probably better than I'm giving it credit for. I felt this way going into Gregory Porter's All Rise and Jack Garrett's Love, Death, and Dancing. For that reason, I'm going to slip this on the list. The Art of Loving is an album about love, its highs, lows, and middles, and more importantly, the art. At least based on the title. This isn't my favorite album that utilizes this theme, and honestly, I'm a very cold person, so this was never going to nudge me. And that aside, this was great, so I slipped it on. Baby Steps, Loud, and I've Seen It were my highlights. I love the dingy acoustic production of Baby Steps about moving forward into something new, something potentially better.
It's funny in the review, you're closer than you are. In truth, we're worlds apart. I used to be near you.
The acoustic cut, I've Seen It, was great. I love how somber and tired the song is.
I've seen it dance with friends around the table.
I think the singing is gorgeous. Dean's singing is wonderful. It's what carried me through. The most famous song, the most fun song, is Man I Need.
Talk to me, be the man that I need, baby.
As a song about enjoying the man you have.
Tell me you got something to give, I want it. I kinda like it when you call me wonderful.
I kinda like the way you say I'm wonderful is such a good line. It gets what makes love great, and I hate that it took 7 years for me to hear a line like this in an album. Loud is this sparse vocal ballad.
And then you weren't allowed to come around and throw my heart about.
I wish I could just play it. It's stuck in my heartstrings. Do any of you remember Noisettes?
Old time say, I'll never forget you. They said we never make it mine.
That's what this sound reminded me of. Not to demean either artist, just an anecdote. A very warm and lush kind of style of soul. I missed Shayfer James' Shipwreck in 2023, and I cannot forgive myself for that. Thankfully, he released this year with Summoning.
I think I would be alive.
I think I like the narrative more than the album itself. Besides being kinda sad, Summoning is partially a sarcastic album.
My inner demons don't need a reason to inconsiderately sabotage a ceremony. I'm not.
I guess I read it as the aftermath. It's that if Shipwreck is an album about going away, this is about finding yourself. It sure isn't fun. One Foot in the Grave is about always being a step away from death, always living a rough life with little to no care.
1 foot in the grave. 1 foot in the grave.
There's Lighthouse Keeper, which I think is supposed to be dramatic irony.
I can't imagine a life much sweeter than that.
Either trying to find an important duty for the purpose of getting a story or the possibility of going missing. In fact, this whole album is depressing. Winter Hymn is about waiting for the day you can just fade out, go away, be done with everything.
To lay my burden down.
And Summoning is filled with that, which contrasts quite hard with the jolly polka that James employs.
I haven't time to wait in line or second guess. I'm on a mission for cataclysm and indiscriminately bringing everybody with me.
Make-A-Wish is about being at a life low and disappointed with yourself with the hope of just getting a wish to make it all go away. That's track 4, so it doesn't work. Don't get me wrong, it's minor key and melancholic. The dark irony almost feels like laughter. Shipwreck was about being a fuck-up. Summoning is about dwelling in that failure, being laughed at, by some omnipotent narrator who knows it's never going to change. So, I put Shame's last album, Food for Worms, as a dishonorable mention that I cut from my worst list. I actually don't know why I didn't put it on. It was arguably worse than some of the early stuff I barely had words for. I think the other issue was that, besides some generally thin mixing, Shame are an odd band. Their mixture of post-punk and grunge is neither generic nor experimental. It's like they're just there in the art punk scene. I didn't expect this to make the cut. Cutthroat is a meaner, louder, and noisier album for Shame. The take it like this, take it like that. In the opener, the noisy riffs, the lyrics about getting around and finding what you want. It's so good.
Crowds of people who like
Cowards Around is about everybody and how we're all a bunch of pussies.
cows around.
I love the noise in the chorus, that little lick inside it. The lyrics keep naming people who are cowards, and somehow they're everyone around me. The new wave, no wave instrumental and the closer of Axis of Evil, a song about status and the people who signal to the world that they are at the top because they're empty and unfulfilled.
You get away with whatever you do because nobody knows better than you.
It sounds excellent. It's the best song on the album. Turning the unfairness of society into a projective insecurity, you'll get away with it because those people are just worse. The noisy explosion of Screwdriver with its garage rock influence, the fast riff playing in the noisy mixture.
When you ain't got nothing, you got nothing to lose. But I own the soul, you own the soul.
Quiet Life is about craving the simple life sold to you by the world, being too empty and worthless to take the plunge because of the better chances are ripped away.
Nothing's good for me, but I still can't make the choice to leave.
It's composed like a soft play song with an acoustic guitar bass, country-inspired riffs, and yelling folk vocals.
You can't provide.
It's like a sarcastic country song. Cutthroat is about the brutality of an unfair society, about craving control to become powerful despite the emptiness that comes with it. I gave shit to Squid's Cowards this year. This is what that album should have sounded like. I can't believe these two bands just swapped in quality this year. Hopefully there comes a year when both can be on the best list like Boyfriends. Of the bands I discussed in my catch-up video, I didn't really expect the band that made this would be the band I came out of that video with an eye on. Folklor is excellent. Where Drugi was a mixture of hip-hop, electronics, and all sorts, especially in the more operatic elements in songs like Maria, Folklor is more of a folkish album, or at least kind of construction-wise, in scope. It's still the usual electro rock the band does well. Also, like Druggy, it's gigantic and filled with gorgeous compositions, vocals, and is definitely more soulful than Druggy. It doesn't have a filter with Sabnak, unfortunately. Oh, also important, I'm using liberal use of Google Translate for the lyrics. I don't know Croatian, and as with other albums I did this with, I don't 100% trust it. It's a decent tool, but needs heavy skepticism and a filter for how languages work. For example, sayings and idioms get directly translated, so idioms in other cultures get lost. So when it gets translated into nonsense, you have to work backwards to figure out what the original might have said. The consequence of a band not expecting some English fuck to deeply scan their masterpiece. There's the track Atom, which is about free will. Nothing ever stays the same, things always change, men are always moving as much as the particles that form us. In contrast, the lead singer Metastasi with Dino Saran is about the allure of darkness in the past, looking at history and pleading for the narrator to get away from it and find something new that exists now. I wonder if it's begging people to stop thinking about the ancient world we fetishize. At least, the translation is accurate. Dom, or DOM, is about home, about it being both a refuge from the world, but also the hostility that traps us. It shows both the world we live in now, and when it's abandoned, it's the world we leave behind, that we neglect. Is this a song about abandoned homes by chance? More importantly, the compositions are beautiful. The chorus in Metastasis is gorgeous, paired with the elements of string work wailing behind the post-chorus, the ghostly vocal samples at the beginning of Dom. With these beautiful synths and strings before it evolves into a new wave cut. The album jumps from styles between songs, and it's like a symphony of electronic rock. Even past that, Folklor is an album about culture, about the past we leave behind, what we neglect, and what we need to do to move forward. I hope that translation is at least a little accurate. Let me know if not. As composition, this is one of the most interesting electro rock I've ever heard. It's really interesting. I'm putting both of these here because they're basically the same album. I'm surprised that everyone fell in love with Pogo Rodeo because, well, I loved Carpe Diem. Unless it's because it's a compilation album or something. One issue with this year was a lot of artists would release an album and then release a B-sides album that was just more. It might even be the same album, honestly, which would make this entry really funny. I thought this was going to be an electronic band like Viagra Boys where they make club jams. Did you know they made noise fuzz rock? They're these powerful battle anthems filled with whoops, all about the joys of manic energy, I guess. This reminds me more of OCs than anything. The hyper energy, the frantic and fast pace, the vocals. March On for Pax Roma, Incubator V2000, Another Reincarnation, and Worldwide Awoke are all these blasting rock songs. I love how loud this album gets. Carpe Diem is this brutally visceral noise rock that floods you with just fuel. Okay, now the other one. Pogo Rodeo is less noisy electro and drone and more like speed rock. It's still got the amazing displays of power on Manny's Ready to Roll, the harmonies in Salsa Verde. Manny's Ready to Roll just slams with power and force. It comes down like a demolition. Pogo Rodeo is definitely more noise rock, riffs, and fury. This album floored me with how dense and loud it is because Carpe Diem is almost a dance album. Pogo Rodeo has more dynamics, but I think Carpe Diem carries its energy better. Pogo Rodeo definitely softens up as it goes along and has more melodic hypnotic cuts. Where Carpe Diem sounds cooler because of how it keeps trying to build over itself. I don't know how you're supposed to decide.
¿Por qué no los dos?
I listened to one of these while cleaning the floor, and it still lit up my world. Besides the force, the writing and lyricism are also really strong. These albums have a lot of humor and wit in them. It reminds me of the 2000s garage era at its earliest. The speed and cluster in the albums. It's a dense packed joyride. Sometimes I remember Miley Cyrus exists. It's so weird that this woman has gone from country music to alt pop to diva pop, faux rap to hyper pop to whatever the fuck this was, to new wave to disco to pop, all the way to... It's a lot. And through that, I don't think a single moment ever fell out of note. Some songs were bad, she shit-talked hip-hop while taking from it, and there were gags along the way, but it's kinda cool to have a pop star like Miley Cyrus. I've heard her compared to Cher, which I guess is a note, but I would argue she's more herself. I don't think she needs a comparison. Naturally, I expected her newest album, which was full production, to get critical praise across the board. And it did come from critics, and somehow this fucking album almost went unknown, which blows my mind. This is the exact type of sellout schmuck Madonna and Taylor would have made to save their careers. Miley should have been absolutely smothered for this album, and she wasn't. Which is a shame because this is her best album.
You're my baby. You're the only one. You drive me.
I should note that this is my first Miley record, but isn't it weird how the pandemic drove everyone insane, except Miley Cyrus and Halsey? She started out as crazy, and after the pandemic turned normal. Also, I love that she's experimental and queer. Something Beautiful is a gorgeous sounding album. I thought that after decades of technical stagnation, we wouldn't be able to make new sounds. This album sounds stunning.
Every time I walk, it's a walk of fame. Walk away.
It's hard to place a favorite. How about Easy Lover?
But you're not an
It's mainly the echoes and phaser that add so much to the depth of the song. The strings are beautiful, and they sound impeccable. I love them so much. Also, I can't believe I'm saying this, Miley has a beautiful voice. It's amazing to hear these vocal soothes after Jesse Murph's carpet bombing campaign. This is how you sing with a nasally voice. There's the big hit End of the World and what it is about. The harmonies, the writing, the throwbacks. I love Every Girl You Ever Loved with Naomi Campbell. Just this beautiful song all throughout. Its gigantic chorus, the brass instruments, and the backup instruments. There's so much power.
every girl you've ever loved. She has the perfect scent.
My mini highlights are the title track. And probably Walk of Fame. It's such a good sounding album. I've never heard sounds like this in my life. The mixing brings out this warm orchestra. I heard someone compare this to Swans, which... Sure. But I'd personally compare this to Spelling's album this year. Yes, it's on the list. Besides that, this sounds like nothing else. Why didn't this do better? Honestly, I think Cyrus's fans could have wanted her to make music that's not for the mainstream. Her music catalog includes some shit. The appeal was that she was the one pop star that wasn't generic or sold out. She made what she wanted to, and honestly, this is the type of album that would get me side-eyeing if I was in that fan base. That could be why. Could also be that they got older, maybe they're not the same stans they used to be, or maybe they have to deal with all the same bullshit as the rest of us. Maybe they're working 7 jobs and contemplating ending it all too, who knows? Maybe it's because she's a queer woman making orchestra music that isn't generic, and that got her punished because she didn't decide to make literal poop. I feel like a fraud saying this album is amazing. I was actually going to listen to her 2023 album on my own because I really loved Flowers and Jaded, but this came out during this time and now it's on the list. Can we get Miley to make an industrial pop album like Rachel Rami or Arca? That would be cool. In my Ignition video, I had to talk about furry music. One of those artists was STYXVII. Either STYXVII or STYX17. If I find out it'll be a dumb pun and I'll break my skull open. I'll put it like this. The language...
Paws are sweating, tail between my knees. Are you into me, or is it wishful thinking? I thought that you were being nice when you put my paw up your thigh.
Is... off-putting. It's not that I can't like sexual writing, but at a certain point it's jarring, even a little bad. Anyway, what the fuck is this? When I saw this album, I knew I had to check it out. This stood out in the discography for sure. Note that I do tend to favor albums that have sounds or themes that aren't common, and this is no exception. Orphic Infinity Nights is...
All the women in my family dead. This world is so...
a 3-track EP. The opener is a ghostly track that's creepy and Halloween inspired, as in the Halloween theme.
It's not the first time that I've prayed for something.
Like a spirit is calling you through the dark, and it's a jam. The middle track, The Streetlights, sounds like... it's like being contacted by angels that watch. It's probably hyperpop about expecting to be taken. The fast pace gives it this sense of running out of time. The exaltation of Styx, the closer of the album, is this creepy little ambient track about wondering what will come as you know what your fate is as something approaches. The darkest hour, and it's at the very end. They Dead.
Oh, he did.
This project is the sickly lullaby, and especially the closer sounds just, I don't know, something out of like RPG Maker horror. I think this is at least partially inspired by some of the alt realities and, viral horror that came out this year. Perhaps more paranormal apocalypse instead. Hillock Ray has been on my radar for a while. Their debut, Hayfields, was such an interesting album, combining the twisted nursery rhyme into these beautiful folk instrumentals, the disturbing Neath the Grove is a Heart, and especially Harpy Hair. Despite releasing several of the best singles this year, they will not put those amazing songs on this album, so we'll just work with what they did put on one. Kid and Leverett not being on this album makes me so unreasonably angry. How? How can you not put that on this album? Thankfully, Origins is great. Origins might be the prequel to Hayfields, potentially a continuation of Kid and Leverett, and potentially Cole's Response. This whole musical project is a series of like characters in the style of medieval folk music. The soundscapes are stunning pieces of strings, xylophone, marimba, and acoustic music. They sound amazing, especially the third track's barking orders behind the softer instrumentals and harmonies. The singing, the harmonies, the whole thing. The work is heavily inspired by Childish Imagination, though it sounds more like nursery rhymes. I stand by that. My highlight was the closer, Kamahalan, written in Filipino. That was the last language I expected in this album. Guess that makes sense. The Philippines also have their fair share of disturbing nursery rhymes and legends. As with Cole's Response and Kid and Leverett, it's just a fantastic piece of power folk. I need to do a video on this band, they are incredible. Additional mention, Kid and Leverett is a wonderful song. It plays like a tragedy, the titular kid telling us of this great empire prophesied to fall.
Round and forgotten fields of flaxen, I was the Leverett in hiding. There used to be a kingdom for foolish majesty.
And Leverett is the one doing it, but they're the yin and the yang. The yin hides the yang, and the yang destroys the yin. I love the theatrics of the song. I love how dramatic, loud, and wide the whole thing is. I love how fucking good this song is. If this was on the album, this would be so close to number one. When I did my Sleep Token video, I recommended this album as a substitute, and people were actually not happy about it. All 7 of them. I actually don't know. I think I would have a coronary if it had more, honestly. I didn't realize it, but this album's wildly unpopular. And the thing is, I should have known. I'm not the biggest Pup fan. I don't like morbid stuff, and I thought that album was mostly hardcore trite. I didn't listen to their meta album because it looked annoying, and from what people said, it was. And then there was their earlier hardcore material, which I did like. I loved DVP because of the humor and the punchline. Haha. For that reason, I can see why fans don't like this album. It's softer, melodic. It's on my list. Big year for the Dogs. Pup's Divorce album was actually a very comforting and relatable listen. Not because I have or will deal with that, but in having to move between states, stuck in the middle between just moving into a new circumstance and being stuck in that routine of the old, adjusting to a new paradigm that's just fallen on you. Can I be honest too? Despite this album being much poppier than the hardcore material, I feel like this fits better. At least they're going to go into a more melodic, hardcore direction. Concrete is about the nostalgia of a fresh relationship, contrasting with the modern version of trying to meet someone at their level, but both of you are so fucking sick of each other. It's got one truly awful line in the verse. But the sentiment is so good. It leads into Get Dumber as a depressing song about the end of a relationship. You start being honest and the person you love stops talking to you like they loved you. One of the lines is specifically about the music. hurts. Paranoid touches on the relationship because you're not connected with the person. You lose the ability to read them and you keep getting told you're just paranoid when you want to break down that wall, find some kind of connection. The best track is Hallways. The relationship is over, both of you are apart, and there's the sting at the end. And then there's the titular line of the album. But I can't die yet, 'cause who will look after the dog? I think that's what got me. I think the emotion in the album matches what I liked about DVP, even in spite of the cornier moments, because the emotion is real. This is an album about being emotional in the face of a broken relationship, the aftermath of it. I love the writing in this album. I love that line about who will take care of the dog. They can't just disappear into the knife because there's still something there. The emotional stab still hurts because even something as lovable as a pet still feels like a sore in the relationship when it comes down, because you associate the best parts of the relationship with it, even as it ends in misery, and you don't want to feel the pain, but there's still someone that needs you. Normally I get why people don't like certain albums. I have no idea why people don't like this at all. This is one of the best depictions of a failed relationship, of a divorce I've ever heard in an album. It's a heart-wrenching album about being stuck in the end of the relationship, falling over yourself, unable to move forward in your own pathetic misery, coating yourself in humor to protect yourself from the pain. In other words, exactly what DVP was to me. I don't like morbid stuff, but that's for generic biased reasons. I love this for how powerful it struck me.
When I was born, grandmama could see it.
I wasn't planning to slip this on the list. Quite frankly, even when I made my video, I still had a hunch it was a bit overhyped. And still, I cannot believe what this album does. Let God Sort 'Em Out is a mean album about looking down on those who betray their community for riches, unaware of the bargain they make in doing so.
Brought 'em back to life, now we're dead again. Richard don't make watches for presidents, just a million trapped between skeletons.
It's about being at the top and looking down at those below you and those around you. I made fun of Pharrell Williams in my video, and I will not stop doing that. I will say this.
The birds don't sing, the birds don't sing, they screech and
play. His production is incredible. I love how every note sounds in this album, mostly in the start. It loses a little steam towards the end as it gets brighter and stupider. The opener is this dark lullaby with a beautiful sample in it.
Gene finds you. Was that your vision? Precision.
The beats are impeccable. When they're not ambient and gigantic, they're some of the catchiest beats I've heard.
Went from heaters up to fevers up. Bitches in the back, the seat is up. Now
So Be It, Chains and Whips, POV, The Birds Don't Sing, Abitida, and Chandeliers. It's a strong album. I can see why people were so excited for it. I'm still not sure if you guys make clips up. One of the famous acts from the Bling era, shut up. I learned of them this year. The album's message is just that of let God take care of it. Let them isolate and cut themselves off. Let the men who profit off culture suffer later. I think what makes Let God Sort 'Em Out really cool to me was it got so much hype. It actually charted on Billboard. For a drought year in popular music, watching people talk about experimental hip-hop was incredible. Chromacopia and Igor were cool too, but that's Tyler the Creator, he doesn't count. Proper experimental noise rap, right next to Glorilla and Lil Tecca. That's amazing. If I can make this as clear as possible, this is not on the list for culture war reasons. Oh man, I'm so fucking tired of the world we live in. This wasn't the only album this year to do this capital lowercase combination, and I still don't know what it means. The translation is apparently I should take more photos, I think. My Spanish is really rusty, I wouldn't have guessed, and also I didn't really care. This is about memory, isn't it? Before we get to that, sound-wise, this is a mixture of reggaeton, club, hip-hop, Latin groove, and dance. The beats are great, the grooves rule, and the lyrics are all fun, provided if you don't read the lyrics.
Tengo el pecho pelado, me dio una mata, el corazón dándome pata.
The vocal ticks, samples, and the beats. I won't comment much on the album because translation isn't great with this album. I'm doing my best, but this album is to a certain extent about memories. The title track is about craving a relationship that's gone to come back. Wishing you saved it more. AOO is about going out celebrating in Puerto Rico. Along with lines I couldn't really translate, lots of the album is about Puerto Rico and the pride in it. The YouTube singles are about various landmarks and historical sites. Nueva York, New York, is about being famous at the top of the world, traveling to the highest points of elite, being a sellout essentially. Isn't it fitting it also contrasts with lines about getting older, passing people by, and also wanting to go back home? I think my main obstacle to truly enjoying it is, well, it's not for me. Bad Bunny is still a famous Latino artist, but it's been a little gratifying he hasn't completely collapsed under the weight of his own fame. He still loves his own culture and people instead of shedding it for that one peak at the top. One day I'm sure he'll go the way of many megastars, but for now, I like that his biggest album is about wishing you soaked up more of the past and your culture around it. Interesting thing with this album. When the singles started coming out, I got really excited for what the art would be. These abstract graphics with red backgrounds, the build-up was thrilling, especially because Uno 2 and the Bog Body were so good. Man Made of Meat was okay. Then the album came out, and the art was this piece of shit, and I was like, okay.
You can't believe it! They found a body buried under the ice.
This at one point in time was my intro for the best list. I think it says a lot that this got boosted this high after so long. Viagra Boys' self-titled album, on the surface, isn't nowhere near their best album. I could recall much higher highs in both Cave World and Streetworms. At the same time, Viagra Boys have always been a singles band to me. It's not that they can't craft great albums, but there are bands who make albums and bands that make singles albums. Deftones make albums where the whole is better than the individual part. Then there's bands like The Killers who make singles albums where they have highlights in individual parts, but the whole varies. Any band can move between the two though. White Pony is a song album, Pressure Machine is an album. Viagra Boys have always made great songs. Sports, Baby Criminal, Just Like You. The self-title is an album. It had less highlights than their other material, but made up for it by being really depressing.
Congratulations on your new job. You fucking rat. This ain't what you want.
The worst song on here is their interpolation of Sex and Candy, Pyramid of Health.
Down, bring your sacrificial goat, and don't forget to wear your feathers and your silly little necklace.
While I don't love this song because I tend to hate interpolations, this was the song that cemented this album as a depressing listen. Uno 2 is about the narrator's complete lack of personality. They associate their livelihood with food. They project themselves like they're a dog.
Activities that involve the trade of rotten teeth of exotic breeds especially. Is Bogdan my enemy? Does he want the best for me? What's he doing with my teeth? Is he taking them to Australia? How's it feel being here?
There's an entire segment about Croatian Australians here too, which...
These folks are from Croatia. They've been through some shit, man. I seem like such a bitch when I talk about Swedish politics.
Entirely comes from the fact they don't listen to anyone else either. They just absorb information. Also, the band is Swedish. There's truly a void in this person. There's my personal favorite, the Bog Body. The narrator learns of this preserved ancient body out of a bog and becomes so obsessed with it, not only projecting their own self-hatred onto it, but also becoming so obsessed they almost get replaced by it. In my opinion, this song should be sung by Smile Dog to Grace at all times. There's the excellent Dirty Boys, which is about the narrator's obsession with becoming filthy, lower, and it sounds like this. Pretty much after that is one long trek to hell.
Go ahead, break my neck, take the fluid from my
It gets really depressing and honest about drug addiction, failure, and self-loathing. In fact, this whole album is filled with self-loathing. It's a really tough listen. For a band that's always made such fun songs about drugs and filth, this is the first album where they genuinely sound defeated. The projection of pain into boast has turned into this sad piece of ash it truly is.
I don't wanna pay for anything, clothes and food and drugs for free.
The album covers close to a bad canvas. The name is a stuttered and broken fracture. Can I be honest? I hate this album cover. What is this supposed to be? Why not use the red background abstract art? That was way better. Is that a pacifier? Even the most upbeat song, Man Made of Meat, which I personally don't love, is still laced with this tone of hatred. I wouldn't say I prefer this to Cave World. I think that album has higher highs and better songs, but Viagra Boys is such a good whole. A great depressing listen about being so addicted to drugs that's all you are. Hard to describe this one, by the way. If you hear purring, that's the cat. She's being bad. This is an avant-garde album with elements of electronics and noise rock, punk-inspired. I hate when I have albums that are great, but I can't describe. I actually listen to a ton of music like this, including a few later on this list. Oh my fucking god, guys. Not on the keyboard, please. I actually listened to a ton of music like this year, including a few later on the list. What is Success is at least jazz-inspired. The drums are really good here, building up tension through the intros. There's a lot of horrorcore inspirations too. I think this is an album about the illusion of ownership. Songs like Success, House, and Catacomb, about trying to find some purpose in making it, but ultimately feeling meaningless, about the pointlessness of everything. The album explores the way our society only builds to exclude through a hostile architecture and meaningless paradigms, and just ends up leaving people behind. Most of the strongest material is in the music. Catacombs chimes that sound like an alarm. The fast drum and bass in House, the wave of noise in Success. Honestly, give it a shot if you really want something different, weird, but also confrontational and mean. This is slightly tied with the next century, but I have less words for it. Really good year for noise rock, for no wave, for spoken word industrial poetry, and this is no exception. A Harmony of Loss Has Been Sung is a dark post-core industrial album about...
And for that, I look into the mirror and I ask, what did we do to deserve this? Nothing.
Well, loss. It is brutal. The first track sounds like a heart palpitations leading to a panic attack. It's half an hour of noise like this.
Failed state of being. It's not hopeless. There's just less hope.
Sorrow's grips merry-go-round, a frantic drumming and meandering drone. Ordinary Unique Pain's heavy blast of violent drums before it descends into a dark, sinister instrumental, before the lyrics start rambling about the perspective of someone in a dead relationship.
Just like me, bring some level of affection, but it was already there. It was already there. It's an unforgiving tool of evolution and an unpleasant truth. How do I bring something like this? How do I bring something like this?
Trying to break that person down, getting louder and louder, refusing to relax as the anger grows and grows.
We don't have your lack of presence is felt just like a subset of a fraction.
The closer's crusty guitars, slow building drums, and sample of a radio voice sounds like the body song. Sorry, I can't help myself.
That's a weird lie you to spread across this plane.
Then the singer comes in with atonal guitar riffs yowling about the sense of endless depression. No greater loss ever felt. This whole album is brilliant. The destitute vocals, sharp guitar grinds, and the violent drums. One problem doing this list was getting to albums like this and accidentally listening to them for like the fourth time instead of writing the list. I mean, this has the poetic rambling of a ditz song and the instrumentals of a daughter song. I mean, they boast about having no choruses despite how catchy and memorable the album is. You know what I hate about Denver? Living here has made it very clear how little Denver curates its local talents. You know how people from major cities never shut up about it? I have never met anyone who loves Denver as much as New Yorkers love themselves, which should be better, but whenever I run into one of my local acts like Shadows Tranquil, Bowl of Heaven, or even The Fray, I never know they're from my goddamn city until someone else tells me. Denver does a shit job at curating their locals. I never know who's from here, and it doesn't help that besides having one giant recycling center in the center. Denver is way more of a blue spot than LA or New York pretend to be. Denver and Boulder too were places you went for like gender transition. We decriminalized slavery, segregation, homosexuality, and gender affirming care before all you did. The only downside is that the woods here were where the KKK regularly hid to hold meetings. Still do. I go on walks and see Nazi graffiti and anarchist graffiti back to back, usually right next to each other because people are too stoned here to have an option. I do hate it here. I'm a proud hater of Denver, from the Broncos to everything else about it. I don't like the rest of the state. Frankly, Colorado sucks in general. The one thing the state has going for it is that it has a shocking amount of great noise rock. This marks the third noise rock album I found that nobody told me about. Meals Jimmy, Repetitors, Festovidim, Jeprepud, The Rabbits. I don't care, that's not how you pronounce it. Those last two were old releases. This is new. Here's Plum Pinball, the latest album from Tulpa. This is one of those weird, bizarre noise rock albums. It's got the guitar feedback shrills from Meal. It's got strange singing voices. What more do you need? The album is filled with crushingly loud guitar riffs and waves of noise. Part-Time Mortician is a brutally shocking song about the numbness morticians fall into, dealing with body after body, building routines to deal with everyone. All the time. You know, the bodies of someone you once loved, a human who used to have ambitions and dreams. It sounds shocking too. I love the opening track's perspective of narcissism and entitlement. Mission Trippers is a vicious critique of the growing Christian nationalism, the debate between faith and science, specifically from a centrist between religious dogma and science, trying to find a middle ground. The singer employs screams out of a Modest Mouse song. The guitars scream, the fun melody in the chorus. Plum Pinball is lyrically, in some ways, about being self-centered, about egocentric people, about centering the world around you first. The vocals are loud and overwhelming. The guitars and noise are flooding. It's a great experience. Deerhoof tends to release a really good album every year. I haven't really fallen over the mood for one since Future Teenage Cave Artists, until this one. Noble and Godlike in Ruin is their darkest and most dreadful album yet. The instrumentals are, ironically, the least distortive they've been up to this point. Because instead of heinous guitar shreds on Actually You Can, we have brutal distortion beneath more brutal distortion. It sounds normal, yet somehow it doesn't. This album has a track that's just laughing at me. The only through line in this album I can say definitively is the fact that the drumming is really, really good. That was my one anecdote I took from him. I love the drumming in it. Past that, I have no idea what to tell you. This is the weirdest album this band has released. They've been around for 31 years and have like 1 billion albums. I don't know what to tell you. This is a heavy atonal noise rock album. Their self-titled, possibly their debut. It's a mixture of psychedelic, post-hardcore, and electronics. It's not in English, but it also barely has any words. It's from a Bolivian-American duo, or so my research tells me, and I think the task of talking about this album is impossible. The mixture of pure orchestral noise rock and psychedelia is intense. This is one of the most insane albums I've ever heard. I told you, amazing year for experimental rock. The album progressively increases in density, intensity, and noise. The noises the samples make are immense and captivating. The constant breakdowns and samples are overwhelming, and it is one of the most dreamlike projects to have come out this year. My main gripe is that sometimes portions of the album drag on. This is mainly a problem in the first half, which is both more ambient and drone heavy, which isn't to say bad, but the second half uses that mood a lot better with the samples and such. The songs are gigantic, and they feel like one massive orchestra of music, which is great, but at times I found it hard to really get engaged after waves of this. Although I'll vouch for Kulawada Willa because the ending breakdown is gorgeous. One of the best moments of the year was when it slowly built up to this reprieve, and the final track does a good job of slowly closing out this wide explosion. Overall, I absolutely love the composition and style of this album. Check it out. It's my mental breakdown, and I get to decide what to play. Why yes, this did terrify the fuck out of me at the worst possible time it could have. Miffy, sweet little bunny, Miffy. This is a distorted ambient project filled with... Honestly, I don't know how else to describe it other than the unstable, disorientating thought loops of being suicidal. I get why people tend to avoid music like this, but I need you to understand, I have a massive tolerance for that. For this, I could not fucking stand this album. It was brutal. Paired with getting a really important call right as the album finished and nearly having a mental breakdown after, I cannot describe to you how badly I just wanted to rate Things I Hated and plop it in the cut section. I hated listening to this album. It's so uncomfortable. It's so unstable and nauseating, like the feeling when you're about to start bawling. The only album I could think of that gave me this horrendous dread was Stage 4 of Everywhere at the End of Time. Not since that fucking album have I felt this kind of dread. The sounds are just so unnerving. Good job, I cried. I've been rooting for this strange hyperpop hardcore hip-hop act since 2020 when I discovered them. I think it's going to be extremely difficult to sell them to you. In fact, the first song I listened to them, Hurt, I almost turned off in the first 2 seconds.
Hello, pain.
They do the Pokeball thing for most of their songs, Lurk and Destroy Us All. Are all great songs, and I feel like most people miss them because they have the most abrasive samples possible. In 2022, their album, Their Money Is Your Money, was my first taste of new 2022 music, and it was their best album up until that point. And here we are with album 3. Sadly, Flashlight and HSM are not on this album. Pain is Good is, which is funny because that's the worst song on the album. I'm tired of interpolations. Amongst their 3 albums, this one has the strongest gooey middle of the 3. The first is really good highs, but this one struggles at the start before it develops some of the best beats, melodies, and songs these guys have put out since. And also, I maybe hit or miss on rage music as a whole, but I will bat for rage music from the breakcore side because it's more interesting. And also, this album has more party beats compared to the horrorcore from the last album. The rave beat and Rave Baby, RSVP, the whole thing. Best song easily. The house beat is super catchy, the lines are beyond stupid. I do like how the opener and closer kind of touch on the real world chaos a little. Now, they're not the strongest songs. You Aren't Being Watched feels really closed into. It's the most restrained album, the production is far less industrial. I even recognize some of the samples like the cowbells and trap hats. The vocals are the clearest I've heard, and it's definitely the calmest of their music. The album cover is 5 animal masks laid before a ring of security equipment. The album shifts from no wave to new metal to house to rave extremely smoothly. There might be some subtext about security hackativism and, our surveillance state. Still insane, but if you want a place to start, I guess you can start here. This is on the list for how hard it goes. I knew of this album very early in the year, but it hadn't been released yet. That opening track goes hard.
For 4 generations, your boots up on their neck. October 7th happened, the fuck did you expect? 9/11 happened, the fuck did you expect? Bombs over Baghdad, there's blood over the checks. Zionists are the new Nazis. Netanyahu is the new Hitler. Cause they be shooting their kids, wonder why they despise children, husband, and wives. And when somebody shoots back, they act fucking surprised. Crack Ravens.
A City Drowned in God's Black Tears, an experimental hip-hop album mixed in with noise industrial. It's extremely anti-fascist, and not only that, as the tracks go on, there's a lot of really dark thoughts that bubble up. One line in this album calls Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant was a rapist and he paid for that.
I really don't know where to start with this. What I'm gonna do is go over this. This album sounds like the righteous protesting that came out of 2025. The organizing, at least. Not all of it was perfect, but nothing is. I think that's the best way I can talk about this fucking year. Here we go. The Iron Wall confronts the modern neo-Nazi movement across the world, from the dictatorship of Netanyahu and Trump, the military state of Israel, the genocide of Palestine, the rising white supremacy and fascism in the US.
You a Nazi and you know it, Obama. You's the devil and you know it, so fuck the IDF, fuck the police. End of the day, they all the same.
The growing degeneracy of the military violence and neoconservatism that has turned America into a degenerate war state. The manosphere satire and baggy.
Me and knives just went sledding. Turn rap to the red wet. Heaven ain't real, fuck what you feel. Run on gas station pills, got me on steel.
It's actually really funny. Then there's the final verse with the divide of privilege and wealth disparity. It's one long diss track for mediocre culture.
87% of women can squirt, but niggas is lazy and that shit takes work. Tell all this time how you wanna be buried. Casket is a casket, who cares what's carried?
I didn't expect this album to be funny. Soft Pack Short is about a girl where he's in love with her as property that he pays for.
She got a missing tooth from fighting in the streets. She don't like the way I rap, but she like my beats.
She may as well be a virtual avatar. I do love the sample Sometimes Papi Chulo. The catchy pop melody in Everyone I Love Is Depressed, which is this gigantic joke song about wanting to die, lashing out at everyone, but the chorus assures them,
don't kill yourself. Why?
Nothing. It also includes
Free Palestine and fuck Tel Aviv,
which, yes, also this grooves, ignoring the lyrics, which are hard. I also love that it ends in a fucking argument. This is one of the most interesting hip-hop albums out there. It goes fucking hard and it bleeds with anger. Though the ending falls into a relaxing, soft, bluesy soul tune and calms down a lot, and Two-Headed Buffalo ends the project. I have no more words for it. This album speaks for itself.
Let me see what this nigga Xfinity Knives is up to. Bitch ass nigga.
One of the coolest fucking industrial no-wave albums I've ever heard. This is like watching a supernova in musical form. The amount of build-up, density, and power in these songs is impeccable. Who is this? What is it about? Who cares? Look at this album cover. Listen to that bass. I genuinely thought someone was banging on my door when that played. The amount of warm, borderline scorching hot ambience playing. It's like a desert mirage turning into an eldritch abomination. The vocals are angry and howling. They take that rap metal, nu metal bark and turn it into this flavor of unstable rage. The drumming is metallic and fast-paced, at times drum and bass. It's like if Gio Gotti did crack. The amount of searing instrumentals through the album, the amount of creative and colorful ambient swaths and bass passages, the amount of power in the tracks. Genuinely, I cannot name a second album that sounds like this. I knew about this album way early in the year, but it got lost in the shuffle. Not anymore. Yoo-hoo Nailgun 45 labels has been put in this wherever it is. Almost done. Oh, 2 hours? That's sick. One thing I did like about other people's best lists was the variety. As with all best lists, there were albums you expected and got. One of those albums, much to my surprise, was Jane Remover's breakout Revenge Seekers. Which is interesting. When this came out, even a bit before, there was some discussion about whether this kind of rage was appropriation from the hip-hop scene. I don't have the answer, but I do think it's a question worth answering, or at least it was. I would argue the hip-hop and breakcore scenes are fundamentally different with their own artists and styles. I've heard some say it resonates, others say it's appropriative. I think it depends on where you stand. Still, a lot of people like this album, so the question didn't come from nowhere. I was surprised by the hype, so when I checked it out, I looked for anything that came before. Delete Zeke! I know who that is! That's fucking Frailty! That album got rave reviews, I remember that shit. Wow. Small world.
You know how
Can I also say, I think it's sick that I've seen this album on many best lists and not as the only trans album. I know it's preachy to say, but I really am happy to see these lists get better. I got so annoyed watching the same 7 fucking albums last year clog the list. I will keep throwing tomatoes though. I'm a hater at heart. Revenge Seekers is a blast. This blistering set of beats, bass, and noise is like being attacked. In a fun way, like playing with your dog. For a mixture of breakcore, noisecore, and hyperpop, I was actually surprised how solid the rapping was. Mostly in terms of how the words are sung. The singing is what it is. Professional Vengeance, Turn Up or Die, and Psycho Boost have these brutal and catchy choruses, especially Turn Up or Die, where the beat sounds like it's about to destroy my headphones. Professional Vengeance is just catchy, and of course Danny Brown. Why does Danny Brown feature on a bunch of underground tracks? Turns out it's because he wanted to make an album with all the hip, obscure artists of the scenes I've covered. Honestly, seeing that album come out was like me winning the jackpot. I almost called him the Jelly Roll of underground rage music, but unlike Jelly Roll, the features are actually good. Even better, as I said in Reactor, Brown blends in with the songs he's in. Revenge Seekers is a wild, blistering, and brutal album. It's got wonderful fun and violent beats to destroy your speakers to. I was surprised how much conversation revolved around this album that... Regardless, killer album. Yeah, I feel like I have to mention this at least somewhere. Originally, I was going to end with Revenge Seekers, but I went and listened to this and... fuck. Okay, Wi-Fi Skeleton is the musical title of the YouTuber Cyrus, who I watched a couple of videos from years ago. I knew about this because earlier in 2025 on Billboard Breakdown by Mr. Pulse, first name Spectrum Cable subscribers filed class action lawsuit over deceptive bill charges. When out of nowhere, this creeped up to like number 99 on the Billboard 100. It sounded like nothing else on the charts, being lo-fi indie bedroom pop. Outside of maybe Sombr if you overdosed on Mucinex. It charted because, after he died, fans creeped this song from his last album on the charts, and look, I do get kinda gross when I do this, putting an artist on a pedestal because they died, and no, I didn't slip this high because of that.
I don't know if I remember you. I don't know if I didn't care.
I do really love this album, though it did help. My main complaint is that the mixing is kind of weak and the songs don't really have time to breathe. It goes by super fast and isn't very long, but man, this was a painful listen. The self-loathing in the album is brutal. Heartbreak, loneliness, missing your chances, and drug dependency. It reads of a person stuck in their worst habits, unable to break it, but accepting it as they just live with it. I was surprised how broken the album made me feel. For as much acoustic guitar and lo-fi is in the album, it really just speeds by. Like looking at someone at their lowest, ripping themselves to shreds as they fail over and over again. I slipped this super high not because of the death. I had a brutal year. I've made that no secret. And my biggest issue in 2025 was just failing constantly, fucking up over and over, feeling like you're always doing it wrong. You're just missing the right moments, just making the wrong decision over and over again. I hate to admit it, but I related to this album from someone who I'm nothing like, from an artist I've never heard of until they passed. And that makes me feel like total shit, honestly. And you know what? How many people out there felt that way too? How many artists make music like this that never get any recognition at all until it's all over? Seriously, I wish I knew about this. I did cry a bit listening to it. It's hard. It's hard to know that you're just always doing things wrong and you'll never feel like you'll be able to fix it. I don't know how the guy died. I don't really feel comfortable looking into it. I don't want to know. I don't really feel good putting albums like Cause as honorables or segments due to tragedy. It makes me feel gross and manipulative. I tend to have high respect for death, if you're wondering why I'm going over this. I never listened to Balloonerism because of that, and I barely did Cardiac's LSD for that reason, only because it was cuts that were recorded prior. Which is ironic, because Pony reminds me of Circles a lot. That same devastating and quiet spiral, the isolation that comes with not having anyone to help you until it's over.
Get everything I need and I'm gone, but it ain't stealing. Can I get a break? Wish that I could just...
Good News hurt to listen to, and the sarcasm in Nope, You're Too Late, I Already Died felt the same way. The humor is barely in this album. The closing track just ends with a robotic voice bluntly telling the narrator,
"You are so goddamn pathetic."
The album cover, for being what it is bleak. It's a bleak, sad album. And I do feel like we are losing a lot of people from this. From a world that rewards mediocrity, scum, and attention whoring over talent. I miss this artist and I wish I didn't. How many artists out there like him do we miss? Yeah, bit of a bummer note. I don't know. I felt off ending on Revenge Seekers. Let's take a breather and continue part 2. Later. Probably on a lighter note.